Well, hey everybody, it's Chris DeFurio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Today's episode is brought to you by La Marzocco. So you go to the website, lamarzocousa.com, check out the grinders, check out the espresso machines. You know, they've been making espresso machines by hand in Florence since 1927. They're known for beauty, dependability, and innovation. Innovation that allows the machines to evolve with the industry to basically be the cornerstone of the coffee shop. Dependable is the other thing that really, they're the workhorse of coffee. It's a household name, La Marzocco. I recommend them all the time to my clients, and I would recommend them to you as well. Whatever configuration of group heads and technology, combinations of grinders and machines, all you have to do is email info@lamarzocousa.com, and one of their sales folks will be happy to set you up with the right espresso equipment for your cafe. And today's episode is also brought to you by Rattleware. Rattleware is one of those companies that has been in your coffee shop. I guarantee it, because they've been around for a long time, and they have been in the background supporting the industry with smallwares that just work. This is part of what they do. They love to facilitate your success with functional smallwares. So whisks and knockboxes and shot glasses and pitchers, all that stuff, the stuff you need, they have it. So go to the website, go to rattleware.com. Now, today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about what coffee should cost customers. Now, is this clickbait that I'm not going to talk about price, that I'm not going to talk about the money so much? The question has been asked of me and other people in this sphere of coffee, what should coffee cost? Well, you know, there's margins that you should be shooting for when it comes to how much you should charge a customer for a beverage, a cup of coffee, a latte, an espresso, a cappuccino. And there are those margins that I recommend with anywhere between 18 and 22%, give or take, depending on, you know, your menu and what you pay, etc. That's a conservative estimate. Okay. But I think that what we want to talk about today is something different, because customers would be willing to pay a lot more for something that was very valuable. And value is something that the customer determines in part by what it means to them, what they get in exchange for effort, the cost, not just the money, the effort, the energy, the inconvenience. We've talked about inconvenience being a crucial, inconvenience is a crucial part of the value proposition of a coffee shop and a coffee product. And in some weird way, we've decided that any inconvenience is an opportunity to innovate away the inconvenience. And what we're left with is a friction-free, almost investment-free, outside of the money, investment into coffee. And that doesn't really create more value. Convenience at a certain point takes away value, because the investment into the product, the investment into the enjoyment of the product is all part of how people value your coffee and your coffee shop. And specifically, because this is Keys to the Shop, where we talk about coffee shops, we would focus on that. And let's talk about what coffee should cost a customer. And when I say should, I'm talking about the things that it's okay to allow them to continue to experience, where some, you know, hot new product says, hey, we got to find a space in the market. Here's the thing that customers have to do. Oh, they have to do something? Good golly, no. No, now you don't have to do it at all. No, there's something that they do have to do if, in fact, you want them to truly, deeply, purposefully value that coffee with purpose. Like, not just pay money and get coffee, pay money, get coffee. that's not a really sustainable model for what we are talking about, because we do talk about the story of coffee. We talk about the importance of having loyal customers who are purchasing coffee all the time and enjoying that coffee. There's something about it that is for them deeper than just the transaction. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a reason for them to purchase that coffee. It's more than the flavor, it's the experience of it. And in the shop, we are responsible for still, even though we've got the technological, what revolution of coffee going on, we are still today in the coffee shop responsible for a lot of different experiential sensory inputs to the customer that all contribute to the value of that coffee. And that means customers, their investment into coffee has to be part of how that experience works. The customer invests, first of all, in the cost of the coffee is just thinking about it, just thinking about the coffee. For a lot of people, they don't think about coffee, and we often don't think about how much our customers actually on purpose think about our brand, our beans, our lattes. They don't have to do that. There are lots of ways for them to procure caffeine for themselves, and we should be happy and ecstatic that they are investing thought and energy into, will I go to this coffee shop? How soon should I leave in order to go to the coffee shop? And they are there because they have purposed to be there. They've adjusted their schedule. They've arranged for, the route they take to work to coincide with whatever it is you're offering. That is part of the investment. And it contributes to the value of your coffee if that investment is honored with the way we think about the guest and what we deliver in the experience. So now they're in the cafe. Of course, they're going to invest more time and energy, and they're going to order the coffee. They're going to pay money, and that money is the ultimate, payment. We could think of that's the payment. That's what it costs them. But for them, that money, and I think maybe if we're having a healthy thought, I tell my son this all the time, money is energy, money is potential. It's an ability for you to do or not do something. You can invest that money into something and see it wasted, because in the end, it's very ephemeral. The experience will either leave you better or it will leave you wanting. And with coffee, and especially when you're in a coffee shop, what you want is something more than just the cup, even if you can't articulate it quite as well. There is something subconscious about why we have decided to, against all of the other convenience options, still go to a coffee shop. Now, again, whether they can articulate that, I chose to come here because I really want to have a satisfying experience that makes me feel good as a person. No one's going to say that to you. That'd be weird. And you'd call your manager over and say, hey, can you talk to this customer? They're being weird. But people kind of feel that way. And there is a hope that something in the way that they experience your cafe will justify to them the inconvenience of them having gone to your cafe. And by the way, that is a thing that they've decided to do. And we shouldn't really, I don't think, act as though they were wrong for choosing to make that investment. Again, we are there to honor their investment, not innovate away their investments. So the price that they pay is financial, but that financial price is more than just, now I don't have that money. It's that money could have been spent to fund some other experience. I am choosing to use this money as a way to receive from myself and often for other people an experience that will be more than just a cup of coffee, but going out for coffee, going to a place for coffee, something more meaningful. It's hospitality, and they expect that. And often the customers, they fall in line, they invest in the rules of the space, and they order from the menu, they queue and they grab their coffee from the pickup counter, and they partake. Another cost of this is they partake in communal enjoyment of coffee, even if they're by themselves and they stay, or they're just temporarily there, but they're in the mix of the community. They are investing into their community, even if it's simply to grab a coffee and leave. So the cost of what they're spending, the price that they pay, is more than financial. It is the energy, the thought, you might say inconvenience. Let's just say it's the investment in total of what brings about this coffee, what makes that coffee appear in their hand. And we honor that through how they experience getting that coffee, but also how that coffee tastes. And we work so hard to make sure that the value is never something that they regret investing into. In fact, most of what I believe is happening in the convenience realm of coffee that is marketed, especially around consistency, has to do with our lack of working hard to make consistent the basic expectations that people are investing into. They want to receive these things, basic expectations of not convenience, but consistency of a quality product and experience. This is an opportunity for us to then say, look, we know what coffee costs you. It should cost you some kind of effort, some kind of thought, some intentionality. You should feel, there is a loss and then there is a gain. And in the exchange of those things, in that investment where something is replaced by something else, that commerce and that transference is what creates the value. And part of me thinks that secretly we want to remove that investment because we can't trust ourselves to deliver on those expectations. But let's take the high road. Let's call that shot. Let's do that excellence thing. Let's honor people's investment and say, you know what? We are going to form this business around high expectations. We're going to make this so valuable because you voted in favor of it with all of these different forms of investment and energy. That's what coffee should cost a customer, and it costs us our energy, our investment, in order to give that experience to them and then feel the fulfillment of having done this whole coffee shop, serving the community, quality coffee consistently thing. That is a coffee shop. This is what we do. So I wanted to just talk about that, maybe just riff on it a little bit. Coffee should cost the customer something because we want that customer to feel like what happened was meaningful, and that exchange of energies is what gives it the meaning. So let's honor it and let's invest, because that's what they're doing. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and I'll see you here next week for another edition of Shift Break, from keys to the shop.